news at 10. Time now to start with a big one. The president of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has said West African leaders will send troops into Gambia if it is no longer the ruler who lost elections does not step down next month. Marcel de Souza said the regional bloc has chosen Senegal to lead any military intervention if President Yahya Jammeh does not hand over. We're told that ECOWAS is continuing to use diplomacy to get Jammeh to accept his December 1 defeat. Jammeh at first shocked Gambians by accepting defeat, but announced a week later he had changed his mind. He says irregularities in the vote count made him question the win of Adama Barrow, a little-known businessman who was the opposition coalition candidate. We are told that the UN Security Council this week urged Gambian security forces to demonstrate maximum restraint and again urged Gambia to accept defeat. Right, let's make some sense out of it. David Agbe is the executive director of the Institute of Governance and Security. He just joined me on the phone lines. David, once again, grateful for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Let's start from here. Some have suggested that instead of a military intervention, ECOWAS should aim at getting Jammeh and Barrow to sit down for Jammeh to agree that I have been defeated, I'm giving way to Barrow. Some are saying this is better than a military intervention. What do you think?
Brian, I think that preventive diplomacy is what needs to be done as we speak now, so that the situation does not degenerate into any kind of deadly conflict in Gambia. As we speak now, you do know very well that military interventions in other countries, especially in Africa, Libya, and other places, even our next neighbor, that is Cote d'Ivoire, has not actually helped very well. And so if you want to proceed by sending military troops to Gambia as we speak, we should realize that the conflict will degenerate the more. And so the West Africa countries needs to come together and be able to establish some kind of preventive diplomacy by touching on the base of trying to intervene so that we will not send military troops to Gambia. If they force the military to intervene, the situation will be quite deadly.
I see. Mr. Agbe, now you see a lot of diplomacy to get Mr. Yahya Jammeh out. Almost every bloc on the world is talking about him stepping down. And that seems to be failing because he's yet to hand over. In fact, he has said he will not. So we should not get the military to remove him?
Right, I must say that the international system is full of conflict, and at a certain point in time, we need to look for collaborative effort to be able to intervene through this, processes. I do know very well that the UN Security Council has issued a strong statement that Yahya Jammeh needs to step down, and the West African, countries has also tried in other ways to intervene. Do not forget that quite recently, our own president and the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria were actually appointed to intervene. But it looks as if their effort is not yielding a good result. But then we need to ensure that we keep on touching the base, putting pressure on him diplomatically, because if we do not do that, and we want to change Yahya Jammeh by using military, we should realize that the repercussion on that small country will be quite, dangerous. And do not forget that the same incident happened in Liberia and other places, even in Iraq. Look at what happened over there. And so the world needs to understand this clear point that military intervention do have a certain negative repercussion on country. And so we should continue to dialogue. We should continue to use, ways to prevail on Yahya Jammeh, to step down. But when at times some of these things, goes on, and we want to use a force to intervene, we should realize that, humanity and human intervention in some of these, processes, using force will not order well for us. But then we should also understand that Yahya Jammeh is a very tough guy, and as we speak now, if we want to use Senegal alone, which they share a common border with, it will not succeed. The ECOWAS as a sub-region, the AU and other international organizations need to be part and parcel of this process. If you want to let only Senegal intervene in terms of the military, we'll be quite surprised that they might not be able to overcome this storm. And so we need to prepare ourselves very well diplomatically by making sure that we continue to put pressure on him, but by not using the military forces.
Mr. Agbe, so you're ruling out a force, but let us look at Mr. Yahya Jammeh. He rules a country that allows for what he's asking for. The Supreme Court has fixed January 10th to sit on his case as to the irregularities he talks about in the elections. So based on this, you'd agree that ECOWAS should just hold on after the Supreme Court in Gambia has ruled on it, then perhaps any decision can be taken. I'm sure you agree with this.
That could be a fantastic position as we speak now. Although it looks as if the court does not trust the Supreme Court, processes as far as Gambia is concerned, because we do know that the Supreme Court is not strong enough, and at a certain point in time, you realize that Yahya Jammeh could use, his influence over the Supreme Court. Their Supreme Court is not strong like Ghana and other countries. So people are a bit skeptical that Yahya Jammeh could use his influence on the Supreme Court. But I think that the Supreme Court of Gambia should also recognize that the totality of that country is more bigger and stronger than Yahya Jammeh alone. So we need to also protect the Supreme Court, at this point in time. If care is not taken and the issue will against Yahya Jammeh, maybe he might use a certain force to even eliminate the Supreme Court. So it is quite a complex, processes as we speak. But we shouldn't also, forget that if we should use the military force, the deadly effect on that small country will be quite terrible than, allowing Yahya Jammeh to stay in, but by using diplomatic, means to ensure that we continue to put much pressure on him, so that at a certain point in time, he himself will lose guard, and then somebody could take over.
All right. I'm grateful. David Agbe is the Executive Director of Ghana Institute of Governance and Security there, talking to me about issues in the Gambia. ECOWAS are threatening to remove Yahya Jammeh by force. The Supreme Court of that country has fixed 10th of January to hear the case in which Yahya Jammeh is saying that there were irregularities when the elections took place, won by Adama Barrow.